Hello and good evening, Chicago. Welcome on in to another episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. That was maybe the most significant Bears loss we will ever see. I don't know about you guys, but I had some very unique and different feelings coming out of that loss than I have ever had coming out of a Bears loss before. Going into a bye week, they may be 3-6, but boy, things are looking different and feeling different for this team right now. We will talk about the Bears quite a bit tonight, but that's not all that is going on in the wonderful sports city that is Chicago. The Bulls are playing the Mavericks tonight, end of the third quarter currently. We will catch that one when it concludes. Do some wrap-up there from that, as well as talk about some just more drama that Scottie Pippen is stirring up, mixing the pot. Just keep stirring the pot, stirring the pot. Sell that book, Scottie. Anything you can do, we will be discussing that. Plus, the Bulls United Center roommates, if you will, the Blackhawks made some hockey news this past week. We will discuss that, plus other fun throughout the way. This is Chi-Town Weekly. Everybody buckle on up. Let's have some fun. And good evening and welcome on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, both on Spreaker and also in Twitter Spaces. We've got people in both places listening in tonight, so thank you to everybody that is chiming in. I see Brandon and Taryn over in Spreaker, and we've got Megan and Johnston and January over in Twitter Spaces, plus our guest that is going to be coming in here in just a minute. He is all lined up and ready to go. This is going to be a heck of a fun show for everybody tonight. Lots of stuff to get into. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Illinois, tons of it all here ready to go for you. But before we get any further, of course, we do have to give acknowledgement to our sponsors here for the evening. First up, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The Warriors were eliminated from the playoffs this past weekend, losing 14-0 to the Riverside Disciples. Best of luck to the Disciples in the championship. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed, to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, or Facebook Southern California Warriors. And Background Check International. Businesses, are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Fremen take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any crimes such as identity theft or any other illegal activity. Find them on their website, bcint.com, or find them on Facebook, Background Check International BCI. And then IE Sports Radio is available on all the major platforms at IE Sports Radio, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or you can go to our website, iesportsradio.com. This show is available on Twitter at at IESRC, or you can also follow along with me personally on Twitter at Adam_Karnick. And if you are listening on Spreaker, hop on in live into the chat. You can join us there. Again, that's Taryn and then Brandon. He just got done with our Boston show, Titletown Sports. So good to see you guys there. And then also tonight we are on Twitter Spaces, so you can hop on there. And that's where we will find there our guest for the evening, Sean Hammond. If you are a regular listener to the show, you know that Sean is a beat reporter for the Bears. He covers the Bears for Shaw Local. He is at Sean_Hammond on Twitter, and he is ready to go and spend some time with us here talking Bears tonight. Sean, good evening. How are you?
Adam, what's up, my man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Now, since last we spoke, you've went and got yourself married. Congratulations.
I did. Thank you. Yes. September 25th. It's been over a month now.
Hey, and the ring is still on, so that's always a good start.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Off to a great start.
Right in the middle of the football season, too.
Yeah, it was chaos there for a couple weeks, but we got everything done. Everything that needed to get done was done.
Good. You know, football seasons come and go. Weddings, you hope you only do them once, so you want to get it right the first time.
Yeah, we had a beautiful fall wedding outside, and it was great.
Wonderful, outstanding. And then if I remember the timing of everything right, that was basically right around the Raiders game. So the Bears even gave you a nice present of a win, right?
Yeah, I believe the Raiders game was my first game back.
Okay, all right. Oh,
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, what a welcome home present! A trip out to Vegas.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not going to complain about that ever.
All right. So, Monday night, I don't know about for you. For me, Monday night was such a strange, that's probably the strangest loss I will ever experience watching the Bears. I literally didn't care that they lost the game because Justin Fields, it felt to me like he had his arrival statement game on Monday night. Was that how it felt there in the stadium as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think most Bears fans can look past the fact that they lost. You know, at this point, sitting at 3-6 like they are, you know, the 2021 season is not really going to be about wins and losses the second half of the year. Obviously, you want to win more games than you lose, but they're pretty deep down in the standings at this point. And just the fact that Justin Fields got his shot in a big game with, you know, he gets the ball down 6 with 2:52 on the clock, and you're thinking, okay, this is his chance. He hasn't really been in a situation quite like this before. Let's see what he's got. And I mean, they drove down that field in barely over a minute. That was the most impressive drive that this offense has had all season, without a doubt. And to go down there and score that touchdown, you know, that was just huge. That was clutch, and he threw some really nice passes on that drive. And, you know, it's just a shame they left a little bit too much time on the clock.
Yeah, they were too efficient on that. They
really were.
The other part of it that I loved hearing after the fact, though, was Nagy talking about how they get the ball on offense and Fields had a smile on his face, that he was looking forward to that moment, to the challenge, that he wasn't shying away from it. He wasn't feeling like, oh man, this is a big moment. He was, yes, this is a big moment. Let's bring it on, kind of an attitude.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me based on just the interactions that we get to have with him in the media. You know, that's sort of his MO. You know, that's how he answers questions with the media. You know, he doesn't mess around with hypotheticals or whatever. He just gets right to the point. And, you know, it's kind of fun being at these games live. You know, being way up in the press box, I got my binoculars and I can watch the Bears sideline a lot more than what they show on TV. And I've noticed with Justin, he'll go over there and he'll look at the tablets for a couple of minutes, after a drive, whether they scored or whether they punted, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it takes a look at the tablets for a couple of minutes, and then he puts it down and he gets his game face on. He's sitting there and he's getting in that mindset for his next time out there. So that really didn't surprise me, but you really like to see the results come with that as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's as in anything else. It is a results oriented business. 7 for 12, 120 yards in the fourth quarter by itself. 291 yards on the game. Easily, that's a high for him as far as yardage is concerned. And the offense as a whole had over 400 yards against a top 10 defense in the NFL. Was this an aha moment, not just for Fields, but for the offense? Is there enough there that they can build off of this going forward offensively?
Oh, yeah, there has to be. I mean, I don't know about you, but I felt watching that first half reminded me more of the Tampa game than anything. There was nothing, absolutely nothing going. The Steelers came out and that first touchdown they scored, the Bears offensive line looked like it had nothing, no push or anything. And then I don't know what happened at halftime, but things improved. And particularly in that fourth quarter, like you mentioned, they did some really nice things and it was nice to see them, part of that is the game situation. They're down 14 points, in going into the fourth quarter, you got to throw the ball, and they let Justin air it out a little bit, and we saw some good results. And while I don't necessarily expect this team to go away from the run game anytime soon. I mean, that's kind of what's been the best aspect of this offense for several weeks now. I do think, the folks who say that Justin should be airing it out a little bit more, this game will add a little fuel to that fire, and maybe they can open things up here down the second half of the season.
And the other part of it, too, that was so wonderful to see, I don't have the number in front of me. I should have looked it up. There were so many different players caught passes. It wasn't just Darnell Mooney. You had Mooney with the touchdown. With the touchdown, you had Allen Robinson finally make an appearance in the offense. You had Cole Kmet made several big catches. You had Goodwin made the big catch downfield. You had a Jimmy Graham sighting, for God's sake. They had got people involved on offense. Why did it take so long, A, and B, hallelujah?
I don't know why it took so long, and it's nice to see Jimmy Graham. You'll want him to catch that touchdown pass in the corner of the end zone a little bit earlier in the game. That should have been a catch, really. It was a good throw from Justin. David Montgomery caught a couple of passes too. Yeah, the Marquise Goodwin. It's nice to see with the Goodwin pass and that big throw to A-Rob before the touchdown. It's nice to see those deep passes, those deep connections. And I know the Goodwin throw was a little bit underthrown, but it was still where it needed to be for him to make a catch. And that's a huge play in that game. And flip the field position. And that's another spot. You look at this game, and there's a couple of places where they could have come up with 6 points instead of 3. And you like to think that they're going to correct some of those issues.
Yeah,
for part of that, you can't ignore that. But they want to get 6 points in those situations.
Yeah, the first half especially, there were way too many short field goals, and that is absolutely something that needs to be corrected. At the end of the day, though, it was a loss. The last drive, Fields, I give them credit. I guess they technically got in field goal range. I felt bad for Cairo Santos when he lined up to try a 65-yard field goal. They flashed it on ESPN that he's made 40 kicks in a row, and I thought, so much for that streak. Why did Nagy decide to kick there and not go with a Hail Mary? I know he has said that it felt like it was a toss-up, But why go with a 65-yard field goal there at the end?
Yeah, he felt like it was a toss-up, and they had that little play right before the kick where they tried to a little short pass to maybe pick up 5 more yards. And when you see them do that, you kind of think that, okay, they're playing, they're trying to set up this field goal here. And I don't know. I mean, we don't know what types of kicks Cairo Santos is making in practice. Maybe he's hit one from 63, 64, 65 yards in practice. We don't really get to see that. The fact that it fell as short as it did, obviously you can second guess that and say, okay, well, that didn't work. I don't know. I don't have a problem with them trying it. If you think he can make it, why not give it a shot? I don't know. I don't know the statistics on the chances of a Hail Mary, from that range, but it's probably not very good. I would say it may be a 50-50 thing. I don't know. I don't know the analytics there in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking that probably, the kick probably had a less than 10% chance, but a Hail Mary there, probably is still a less than 20% chance. So it's you pick your poison there at the end. And then, of course, we can't get away from this game without bringing up the 2 calls. The alleged illegal low block on James Daniels where A, he wasn't out of the tackle box, and B, he didn't even block anybody. And then the gesture towards the Steelers sideline. You never lose a game because of officiating, but that was a 7-point, those 2 penalties had a 7-point swing in Pittsburgh's favor.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly affected the game, and when you lose a game by 2 points, every field goal makes a difference. I certainly think that call against Marsh was a huge play in that game, and it really did swing things. You could argue that it cost the Bears the game. I don't know. I don't know about these taunting penalties. Everybody has their opinion on it. I think you let these guys go and celebrate in the end zone and do all this goofy stuff. Why not just let them celebrate after a big play? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's just my opinion. And as far as the James Daniels penalty, I mean, that just makes no sense. He didn't touch anybody. So I don't know how that can be a low block when you're physically not even hitting a guy. That one really hurt because that was a touchdown. The Bears had 6 points on that play, and to wipe that off the board and get stuck with 3 in that situation, they wipe it off the board and they send you back 15 yards. I mean, it's not like it's a 5-yard penalty. That's pretty much shutting down your chances of scoring a touchdown there in that situation.
Yeah. And I wouldn't make the argument. I would not make this argument, but you could easily make an argument that the Marsh penalty allowed the Steelers to win because it put them in field goal range and they ultimately won by 2 points. So I wouldn't make that argument, but you could understand why people would make that argument. And they said it was a gesture. I have yet to see a tape or any angle that shows that he did any kind of a gesture other than he looked at the Pittsburgh sideline for a couple of seconds and then went back to his own.
Yeah, absolutely. And he told us after the game that he didn't say anything to them. Somebody asked him if you said anything towards the bench. He's like, no, I didn't say anything. And I don't know. I just don't know that you should be penalizing guys for gestures. I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, not at all. Well, taking a macro view for a minute here as the Bears enter their bye, for all of the joy that there was of seeing Justin Fields' arrival, it was still a loss. It's their 4th loss in a row, and it's the 3rd year in a row that they've had a 4-game losing streak. since starting 5-1 last year, the Bears are 6-13 plus a playoff loss, which I like to include because those games absolutely count. So they're 6-14 in their last 20. Why has Nagy in year 4 not been able to avoid these long losing streaks?
Yeah, man, that's a complicated. That's a hard one to answer. I don't know what it is with these long losing streaks. I mean, it seemed like last year's streak was never going to end. You know, I don't know what. You know, I don't think it's not like they're doing something wrong. I think it's just sort of the way that these things have played out. Schedule certainly has something to do with it, and you know, it's not because the Bears don't want to end these losing streaks. Obviously, they want to avoid these situations. They're costing them. You know, a losing streak like this really hurts your team and you know, it hurts your playoff chances. Obviously, somehow they still made the postseason last year, but sitting here at 3-6, it's hard to see where enough wins are going to come from to get them back on track this year to get in that playoff hunt. Now, the good thing about having 7 teams is that 7 teams in the playoffs, that is, you know, there's that many more teams that are in contention as you go into the final weeks of the season. They do have some winnable games here too. You know, they got the Lions on the schedule, the Giants, that's a winnable game, and but they're going to have to pick somebody off if they're going to make the postseason, I would say.
Yeah, the nice thing working in their favor there is there's not necessarily anybody running away with the wild card spot. You got plenty of teams running away with divisions, but there's going to be a wild card seat at the table for somebody's going to have to take that 7 spot. So
yeah, somebody's going to have to take it, and you know, they're really not that far out of it. You're talking you know, 2.5 games behind at this point, which is certainly, you can make that up, but you're going to have to beat some good teams along the way, and they haven't really done that yet.
Yeah. Outside of the Vegas game, which we now understand there were mitigating circumstances surrounding that one. Yeah, they got to beat some teams with winning records. Well, Sean, thank you so very, very much for hopping on with us tonight. I appreciate it. We're getting lots of love in the chat for the Marsh situation. Mike brings up how he got to the bench and got screamed out by his coach, and Marsh had no idea what was going on. And also you're getting congratulations from people too on the wedding. So
that's great. I appreciate that.
So that is Sean Hammond. He covers the Bears for Shaw Media. Again, thank you, Sean, for hopping on tonight.
Absolutely, Adam. Anytime.
All right. Again, you can follow Sean at Sean_Hammond. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, the Bulls wrapped things up tonight, beating the Dallas Mavericks. The Bulls just keep winning games. And then also there was news from the Bulls past. A Bulls legend is just continuing to stir the pot. We will talk about all that plus more. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Back in just a few minutes.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
the Soccer Scoreboard Show with your host, Gabriel Montoya. This is the show for soccer, football fans, or whatever you call the beautiful game. Every week, I tackle the latest and greatest news from around the soccer world. From the English Premier League, to the World Cup, to MLS, Liga MX, and more. You can listen to the Soccer Scoreboard Show and our lineup of fantastic guests every Friday at noon here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, what's up, BS3 sports fans? If you love listening to the BS3 Sports Show, check out the weekend wrap-up every Monday at 12:15 Central Time, 1:15 Eastern, recapping the weekend in sports like you never heard it before. Comedy, interactive chat room, it's a must-listen. Weekend wrap-up on Spreaker.com. Part of the X Squad. Check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Ladies and gentlemen, hear me and hear me good. If you like sports, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like comedy, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like a different opinion coming from a different angle, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. So join me Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with your host, Jelani JB Bodie. And of course, my man Lopan on thewaitaminuteshow.com. Ain't that right, Lopan?
And welcome back to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Talked a lot about the Bears there in the first segment. Now, while I was talking with Sean about the Bears, the Bulls wrapped up at United Center against the Dallas Mavericks, 117-107 tonight against Dallas. Want to get into just some of the numbers. First of all, we'll look at some of the individual numbers. First of all, the Bulls took the lead partway through the second quarter and never looked back. The Mavericks' largest lead was 7 points on the night. That was early on in the second quarter. The Bulls led by as many as 18 points, finally finishing with a 10-point win. balanced game all the way around. Zach LaVine, 23. The team as a whole, the Bulls shot over 50% from the floor tonight. Zach LaVine, 23 points. Lonzo Ball, 21 points. Lonzo was 7 of 10 from behind the three-point line. Vucevic, 18 points and 10 rebounds, yet another double-double for him. DeMar DeRozan, 17 points. And then coming off the bench, Alex Caruso, 16 points and 6 steals on the defensive end. Caruso, 6 of 7 from the floor, including 3 of 4 from three-point range. The Bulls shot just over 50% from the floor as a team, just under 50% from behind the three-point line. The Mavericks, meanwhile, were held to just 45% shooting as a team and just 36% from the floor, under 80% from the free throw line as well. Leaders for the Mavericks, Kristaps Porzingis, 22 points and 12 rebounds for him, a double-double. Luka Doncic with 20 points. Hardaway with 21 points. But overall, not anybody else with significant scoring for the Mavericks. The Bulls just keep finding ways to win games. They did this on Monday night while the Bears were losing to the Steelers. The Bulls were beating the Brooklyn Nets. Now they take on Dallas and get a win there. The Bulls are in a rough stretch of games, but they just keep finding ways to win. I like the comment from Brandon in the chat. Oh, man. His Celtics weren't able to beat the Mavericks the other night. Maybe the Bulls are legit. Maybe the Celtics need a bit more work. That could very well be. You would know the Celtics far better than I would, Brandon. But yes, the Bulls, they seem to have found things here. Karshinovitz and Donovan, now that they've kind of reloaded and retooled the team and gotten definitely fresh life and fresh energy into the club, it is resulting in some statement wins here early on in the season. Now you still have, the Bulls still have a rough stretch upcoming later this month. They've got here in a couple nights on Friday night, they take on the Warriors, Gina G's Warriors over there in Northern California. They take on the Warriors Friday night. That's going to be a tough one. That's actually being televised nationally on ESPN. Then they stay out west for both LA teams taking on the Clippers and the Lakers. Then they've got the Trailblazers later on this month, the Nuggets, the Knicks, the Pacers. They've still got a rough stretch of games coming up, but that was the feeling coming into these games against the Nets and the Mavericks and the Sixers as well. They dropped the games against the Sixers but stayed competitive in both of them. It's still very, very, very early in the NBA season, but 8-3 start for the Bulls, even if they just go 500 the rest of the way this month, you're still talking 13 or 14 wins already in the bag going into the month of December. Haven't seen play like this from the Bulls in many, many, many years. So exciting times out in the United Center for sure for the Bulls. Obviously, LaVine and DeRozan and Ball are getting the bulk of it, but it's also great to see bench guys like Caruso and the rookie Dosunmu coming in and doing tremendous things out there for the Bulls as well. The team on the floor is not the only reason, though, that the Bulls have been in the news this past week. You may have remembered several months back, Scottie Pippen came out with some disparaging comments of former Bulls head coach, former Lakers head coach, Phil Jackson, claiming that Jackson is a racist and that he, while coaching the Bulls, intentionally and maliciously, deliberately prevented Scottie Pippen from getting the chance to sink the winning basket in a playoff game and instead deferred to Tony Kukoc because Tony Kukoc was white and Scottie Pippen is black. Now, he went on a show earlier this week and ripped into Michael Jordan, claiming that Michael Jordan, basically saying that Michael Jordan's flu game was no big deal. That you hear of flu games all the time, that flu is an easy thing to play with. The point that Pippen was making was that he played with a bad back in Game 6 of the final series in '98 against the Utah Jazz in the sixth and final championship run for the Bulls, and that his back was so injured that had there been a Game 7, Pippen would have been unavailable in that game for the Bulls, that he just would not have been able to partake in it. I want to take a step back to the documentary that came out last April, to The Last Dance. It was fantastic entertainment. It was very well done, very well scripted, beautifully put together. It was a tremendous production. And it came at a time where, certainly in the sports world, we were desperate for something, anything to talk about, because we were all in shutdown. We were all in lockdown. Sports were dead. Nothing was going on. We were all stuck at home, worried, sick, scared. We were all in different places. And it gave us a wonderful release. It became appointment television on Sunday nights to tune in and watch The Last Dance and see what was going on in that series. What we have learned about it since then is it really shouldn't be called the story of the '98 Bulls. It really would better be called The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan story. Because whether Jordan or ESPN wants to admit it or not, Jordan's fingerprints are on everything about it. And his viewpoint is the predominant one. A lot of the other players in the documentary, they actually, in the months afterwards, they had a sit down and a conference call where they actually talked about it, and well, boy, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. That's not how that went down. Come on now, wait a minute. And they decided kind of collectively that, you know what? This was Michael's chance to tell his version of the story. And that's fine. Let him have it. We all were there. We know what happened. If you go to war with Michael Jordan, you're not going to win. We know what happened. We put our sides of the story out there. to those that want to hear it or read it, but we let bygones be bygones. Scottie Pippen does not want to let bygones be bygones. Scottie Pippen wants to go to war. He's got his book coming out, Unguarded, coming out, I believe, either this month or next month. It's due out soon. That is basically his rebuttal to The Last Dance. Scottie has said multiple times he does not get along with MJ. And you know what? That's fine. They worked together great on the court. They got together to win those championships. But Scottie coming out and saying these things, he just comes off as whining. He comes off as just desperate for attention. You know, he's one of the best players in NBA history. He was a key cog to the greatest dynasty that certainly the NBA has ever seen. Arguably the greatest dynasty that perhaps sports has ever seen. I'm sure that Beantown Brandon is going to correct me there in the chat and say that the Patriots dynasty of the last 20 years is more impressive. And we can have that discussion. I'm not entirely prepared to refute that argument if somebody wants to make it. But certainly the 90s Bulls are in that conversation for greatest dynasty cross sports. You know, you're going to have multiple contenders in there for that. The 90s Bulls are going to be in there. Just like when you're having the conversation of the top 5 players in NBA history, Michael Jordan's in that conversation. For me personally, he's number 1. I understand that there's some people that aren't going to have him be number 1. Fine, we can have that conversation, but we can all agree that Jordan's in that starting 5 of all-time NBA players. Scottie was great. Scottie's not in that starting 5 of the all-time basketball players, and this feels like Scottie's whining that he's not getting his due for being a good basketball player, that he's resenting the fact that he played Robin to MJ's Batman. Scottie, you were Robin. And you know what? You were the greatest Robin that there could ever be. Jordan never won a title without you. Absolutely, that is correct. And I'm not sure that he would have without you. Absolutely. But come on, man. You don't need... You shouldn't need to try to bus toss everybody in your way to try to make yourself be something you weren't. You were a fantastic player in the NBA. You were an ambassador for the Bulls until you started doing this stuff, and then they decided to get rid of you as an ambassador for the team. And now they've got I just blanked on his name. They've replaced you as the ambassador for the team. Scottie, you were a great player. Nobody was better than MJ. To try to come off as you were better than MJ, you're not going to win it. You're not going to win it. It certainly makes for interesting conversation for radio or podcasts or you know, people like myself or people better equipped at it than myself to have the conversations. But Scottie, quit your whining. That's what it comes off as when you come off and I've heard of lots of people having a flu game. Have you ever heard of people having the bad back game? Come on, man. Come on. Be better than that. You were a professional as a basketball player. Be a professional now. Hold your head up high. Hold yourself to a higher standard than that. If for no other reason than going to war with Michael Jordan, you're going to lose. He proved that on the court for 15 plus years on the court, that you don't want to be on MJ's bad side. You don't want to be on MJ's bad side off the court either. Come on, Scottie, be better than that. We are going to take one more quick break, and then when we come back, just some news from kind of around the Chicago sports world. We're going to stay in the United Center for a little bit, then branch out some more and look at some different sports topics from around the city. This is Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Back right after this.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Shores of the Puget Sound to the rushing waters of the Columbia River, stretching across the Great Cascades, and on IE Sports Radio lives the Northwest Territory Sports Show, hosted by me, Brad Buckingham. On this show, I cover all the great collegiate and professional sport teams that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Mariners, Sounders, and even the Seattle Kraken. But I can't forget all of that is good in Oregon either. I got the Trailblazers, the Oregon Ducks, the Beavers, even the Timbers, and much, much more. You can listen to the show every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, noon to 1 p.m. Pacific on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there. love college football? And do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I Single A in the FBS? Well then, look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Here with you now for just a few more minutes here on this Wednesday night. Wanted to take a quick shout around, kind of just bouncing around the city for a little bit. We talked about the Bears in the first segment, Bulls in the second segment. We'll stay in the United Center for the time being real fast. The Blackhawks this past week made some on-ice news. We've been, of course, discussing them quite a bit for all the horrible off-ice stuff that has been going on with the Kyle Beach situation from over a decade ago. But there's some on-ice stuff to talk about. Jeremy Colleton is out as head coach. I was honestly not surprised when Stan Bowman stepped down from being general manager as part of the external investigation into ultimately the Kyle Beach story. That was something that I thought had a very good chance, that Colleton, I felt like, had a very good chance of becoming almost collateral damage of that investigation, because Bowman was the reason that Colleton was yet there in the coach's seat on the coaching bench for the Blackhawks. In his 4 seasons with the Blackhawks, just the one playoff appearance, and was never able to get a firm grasp on the team. The defensive play from the Hawks has absolutely fallen apart the last few years. And the team has struggled to find a lane. Obviously, some of that falls on the now exercised front office personnel as well. But Colleton's partly to blame for that too, because your general manager and your coach need to be in lockstep when you're making those moves and you're making those decisions. And the Blackhawks could never decide, were they going to try and rebuild or were they going to try to go for it, and tried to constantly do both, and it never worked. now you've got aging veterans that are expensive that you can't move, and a mix of young players who some of them are blocked and others of them are struggling to find their way, while you meanwhile have these aged veterans that are in their final opportunities to try and win a championship that is clearly not coming this season. Interim coach King has stepped in. In the meantime, they've actually won their last 2 games since Coach King has taken over for the club. So the club has, the Hawks have responded to that as well, to the move and showing signs of life out of that as well. The Blackhawks, their next game, they played last night and got a 3-2 shootout victory over Pittsubrgh. Their next game is Friday night at home against the Coyotes. That should absolutely be a winnable game for the Blackhawks. We will see how that goes and how that transpires. In the college realms for a minute, Illinois just keeps being strange and unique and different. The Fighting Illini defeated Minnesota this past weekend, 20th ranked Minnesota up in the Twin Cities. I can't figure Illinois out. They go from going to Happy Valley and beating Penn State, going to Minnesota and beating a ranked Gophers team, but then they come home in the interim and they lose to Maryland and they lose to Rutgers. I can't figure Illinois out, but kudos to them for keeping things interesting and certainly keeping things entertaining. And then one last shout out here for the night, the Chicago Red Stars. I have not talked about them at all since I've been doing this show. National Women's Soccer League. If you are not familiar with them at all, they have made it to the NWSL's semi-final round. They had a match on Sunday this past Sunday that they won 1-0, defeating Gotham Football Club. They will now take on the Portland Thorns this Sunday with a shot in the NWSL Championship on the line. So congratulations to the Red Stars on making it this far in their season. And who knows, maybe we've got another opportunity for another championship to be celebrating this fall. We had, of course, the WNBA championship that we celebrated earlier with the Sky. Maybe the Red Stars can get us another one going as well. All right, that does it for our show here tonight. Lots of thank yous and shout outs for the night. First of all, thank you again to our sponsors, Southern California Warriors, and to Background Check International for continuing to sponsor us every single night, every single week here at IE Sports Radio. Also, IE Sports Radio is now out there on Patreon. So if you want to become a Patreon supporter of IE Sports, you can do that. Go to Patreon and find IE Sports Radio, and you can help support us, help keep the lights on and running and functioning. We've got 32 different personalities here at the station, all doing different things, from different cities and states that we cover to different sports, different regions, all kinds of different things that we do. I promise you, IE has got the flavor for what you are craving as a sports fan, so be sure to check that out and support us there if you are at all able and or willing. Thank you to Larry for continuing to do all the work he does behind the scenes, keeping things running smoothly here at IE Sports Radio. Thank you to Sean Hammond again. Follow him at Sean_Hammond for coming on and talking Bears with us tonight. I should have talked some Illini football with him as well. Thank you to the chat room tonight. Very active tonight. We had Beantown Brandon again at Titletown Sports. He was on. Taryn Rodriguez was here. You catch him doing Set Point and SoCal Supreme Sports. Mike Pat was in the chat from Let's Whine About Sports. He was in the chat room here tonight. He just came out with a new blog post that you definitely want to check out. Bears fans for sure want to check out some things he had to say about the Bears. Andrew Hagenbaugh was in there. Thank you to Andrew. Thank you to everybody that continues to come here and listen every single week. I really do appreciate it. I know you're out there. Thank you so much for continuing to support me and continue to support IE Sports Radio. I am it for tonight for the station. Everybody, be good, be safe. Until next week, we'll see you then. This is Adam Karnick signing off.